Hi everyone, welcome to my tutorial video. My name is Denizcan. I'll talk to you about the true wood basics, but first I wanted to explain you the actual basics of the material, that how I generate the wood looking textures from the scratch in Unreal Engine. I see some couple of options they made by using the Blender, but I didn't see any options that's already implemented into Unreal Engine. So I wanted to make something that looks realistic as much as the Blender options and easy to use and more controllable, because the problem is that when you create something in Blender, the textures in Blender, you can also bake them, yes, no problem, but the problem is that when you put it in Unreal Engine project, it doesn't give you any option to play around and change the parameters and make it like a full procedural. So that's a problem. So I would like to talk to you about the basics. The first thing first, I'm going to show you some couple of things, that how the idea came out and how it is working in Unreal Engine. So I open a project. I am going to create a material. I'll just call this wood. So I'm gonna start adding the texture coordinates. The first thing first, I'm going to create a radial gradient. For that, if I remember right, I need to subtract 0.5 and get the length of it. Yes, so it's given me a radial gradient look. But I don't want any of these on the sides, because we are trying to create a trunk first, realistic rings in it. So for that, I am going to switch this to world position, and then I'm going to just get the X and Y and get the length of it. And let's see how this looks. Okay, that's a problem because I need to scale it. So let's scale down this to 100. Let's divide it to 100 and then connect it. And now I see the dot. Okay. So when I get the sign of this, I should get a radial rings. Let's try it. Yeah, pretty simple. Basically, if I add a scalar parameter here and call this the scale, let's make this 100 as well. So I should be able to control the rings. Okay, let's keep it at 50 for now. Now, if I, as you see, the white goes up and black goes down. So the idea is here that here in this area it goes -0. That's why we just see black. I'm simply gonna add a 1 and divide it by 2. So now we should see 0 to 1. Okay. In this case, I can reduce this scale a little bit. Let's make it 20. Okay. As you see, that we don't see any rings on the sides. I'm just thinking like this is a lumber out of the trunk of the tree. So the next thing, I would like to show you one more thing. Besides sign, I can add a fraction. So this is how it looks. Now the lines shouldn't match. If I go sign, yeah, they're not matching right now. So if I add a 0.25, let's see how it's gonna look like. Yep, so they're all aligned now. So basically this is the idea, and now as you know, the trunk is never, like the tree is never perfectly straight, and inside of the trunk it's always some, like there's distortion. So I like to apply that into material as well, so we can see some realistic look of the movement on the sides specifically. The easiest way to do is that I can get another absolute position and then actually divide this to distort scale, let's call it distort scale, and I'm going to make this, let's say, another 50. Okay, so let's add a noise. Okay, I'm going to uncheck turbulence effect and increase the level. This is up to you guys, like you can make anything, how much detail you want on the wood, you can make it. You can keep it in default, doesn't matter at this point. So it's all about the performance, you can just adjust it yourself. And let's increase the scale a little bit. Actually, let's keep it just to see what kind of effect we get after this. Now if I add this before frac, we should see some distortion, but it's too much, of course. So I'm going to add a multiply in between and then call this distort power. So let's keep it 1 for now, just to be able to get the same look. Okay, perfect. Now if I reduce the power, so this is how it looks. Let's increase the distortion scale a little bit and decrease the scale to, let's say, 5. So we are getting there. Yeah, something like this basically. So these are the rings of the wood, like it's already looking very realistic. So this is the whole idea of what I did in, like, behind the true wood. So I'm just gonna save this, close it. Now I'm going to go to Epic Games, and in the fab search for true wood and add it to the project. Okay, so I can close this. Here's the true wood. Just open it in maps. You can see the level, it's called showcase. Okay, when you open it, you'll see a bunch of presets. So these are made out of that idea that I just showed you. So you can see all the details in between. So when I do this, I thought maybe while this is the wood, the like actual tree structure, I can create some kind of variations in between to be able to apply it into every single tree species, as long as we know the end grain of the wood that we are looking for. For that, I know a website. It's called I believe wood database. Let's search for it. So wood database here. In this website, thank God, they literally get every single wood species and grain. So they have like thousands of different wood species in here. Doesn't matter what you pick, what you need, like as long as you know which one you are looking for or which one you are trying to copy into the true wood, you can pick any wood species here. I just picked apple for now. And down the page here you can see the measurements of the distances in between rings. So you can copy of this look through the material instance in Unreal Engine of TrueWood. So this is the actual look, like very zoomed in look of the end grain. So we have this data, right? If I apply this to TrueWood, I should be able to gain the look from the sides. That's the idea. Of course, it's going to require a couple of color adjustments just to be able to match the color, or you can just hold the wood in your hand and then just copy it. So let's pick this one, ash. So if you go to the trunk specifications, you can change the trunk diameter. Or where exactly this wood is, like how far from the center of the trunk. Or how is it cut? Imagine that there's a log, you just slice it, right? And if you try to slice it, let me just show you from this angle. If you slice it the plain way, like that's the most traditional way, this is how it looks. But if you say no, I would like to slice it with the rift cut, so you can simply increase this all the way to 1, so you will see perfect grains. And trunk noise scale, trunk noise parameter, they're also making the difference on the look. As you see, you can get some like incredible results, I would say, in a funny way. And change the base color. So this is just the trunk specifications. In the ring, there's a ring scale. So this is the rings that I was talking at the beginning. So you see the rings in between. So that's just gonna increase or decrease the rings, as you see. And the grow is that when you zoom in the rings, you will see a gradient look in every ring, in between every ring. So that's defining that, the grow strength. But it makes a huge difference on the look over here when we look at it. So as you see, the grow is removed, so that gradient is removed, and this is the result. It's getting like more oak look. And this is fully applied. So you can change the color of the gradient. And in between every ring there's a line, like basically that's the sign that we were talking about at the beginning, very beginning. So when we change that thickness, so you can gain different look. So this is closer to pine, and the gross smoothness, so it's looking more clean now. So if you go to the cell detail, cell is even more detailed, like it's even more zoomed in. You see the very little skinny thin lines. It's more gray. Actually, if I change the color, you are going to be able to see it better. Let's go with red. Okay, now do you see the red lines? Very slim. So that is the actual cell in between in between rings. So you can control all cell in here. Let me play with it a little bit. Let's see. I'm curious too. Yeah, it's so micro, so it's hard to see the effect on the final. But overall, like little by little, everything is completing each other. Okay, and the vein. Vein is the holes. Basically, this section is, you see these little dots, like 1,000 of them in here, maybe a million, I don't know. So this is basically called vein of the wood. All the water is being carried through this, I assume. I don't know too much about the wood, but this is how it sounds, right? And so you can change the vein. In this one, there are also some veins you can see, like black, almost dark brown veins in it. So you can increase them just to see what kind of result you get. Depends how thick that is. So this is ridiculous, but you can get something more realistic, of course. Next is the vein macro. So basically you can say vein top, vein middle, vein bottom, or like micro. You can change all these vein options to be able to gain the most realistic look. Because if you go like, I don't know, if you go like, let's go to another wood species to see what kind of effect it gives. For example, cherry. Let's see. If you zoom in, like, you will see the grains, yes, but there are more grains inside it. Oops, the clipping is not allowing me to zoom in more. But inside there are like, in the if that vein is 1, that inside veins are like 0.01, so it's like 10 times smaller than that. That's why it's hard to see, but it makes a difference on the output look. Okay, so let's go back to this now. So if you look at the wood, the tree trunk, you will see the center of the trunk sometimes is different than the outer of the trunk, which is called heart. At least that's what I understood. So if you look at this one, let's see, let's say just trunk of the tree. Okay, so this is a good presentation. So here, this section basically, or let's call it this one. Let's copy image address, paste it here and zoom in. So this section is the heart of the trunk. If you like to add this into the texture, you should enable the heart wood and make a change. Like without it, this is how it looks. With it, this is how it looks. It doesn't make a huge difference because this is very slight effect that I applied into ash. If you go here and then change this and make the scale bigger, for example, and then get the smoothness, you can make it very harsh effect. And you can also add some walls in between hardwood and actual wood. yeah, that's the idea. So let me just go back to not break this material instance. Here we go. You can add the nuts into the wood as well. So the nut is basically, this is what I understood. The nut is where the branch is coming out. So there's something is happening in the wood where the nut is going to be, where the branch is going to start growing. So you can add that to be able to understand like what size of nut you will have. Just look at the real world references of that tree, specific tree, and understand how big the branch is comparing to the trunk itself. So here is the nuts. You can see them all. You can change the scale. You can make them bigger. When they're too big, it's not looking very realistic because that's not how it is. Let's just go here and change the smoothness, change the color, change the scale, change the noise, like distortion effect. And let's change the color to dark, something like this. So this is more like better fit, basically. So at the end, it's giving you like some realistic wood look effect. So if you go to finishing, so here, these are the basic parameters. So if you uncheck the row, it's giving you some options to glaze the wood, paint it, stain it. Okay, you can stain this wood, so any color, realistically. You can even make any like some exotic colors. Like, let's go something like this. And you can also change the dominance of the stain. It also presents like how many coats you applied onto wood, right? So if you apply the stain color like a couple more times, so this is what you should see, or like even more, this is what you should see, right? So this is just for the finishing. You would like to get this option too, I assumed. So that's why I included this feature into it. Okay. But when you look at this one, the planks, you can change the plank size or plank length or pattern. And as you know, when you apply the planks next to each other, you should be able to see some kind of shaft in between, so it doesn't look very seamless. You like to have the seam in between, so this plank shaft applies that. So it adds some kind of variation, so they don't look like repeating. So you can rotate the plank. But it doesn't rotate the whole texture. It just rotates the grout. Okay, you can change the thickness, roughness, obviously, and the color. So let's pick something here, this color, and make it slightly darker. Here we go. So simple. I'm going to talk to you about the advantages and disadvantages. At this point, everything looks very cool, very nice, and like the result is looking very convincing. But the problem is that when you go to the performance optimization, like you can check the shader complexity here, right? So as you see, it's like very expensive shader, especially when you add the nuts. So that's a problem, especially for the game makers. So we gotta solve this somehow. And I thought, if I can find a way to bake this into a texture, after everything is done, I can simply apply that texture into any object, right? So the problem is, in that case, yeah, that sounds very nice, but in that case I'm going to lose, yes, I will get all this side texture and everything, but I am going to lose this end grain. So that is the problem. So either if you are doing an architectural visualization, if you are using it for that, or like movie production or anything, yeah, makes sense, like to use it as is. But for game, unfortunately, there are some limitations, right? Like I explained, the end grain are not going to be visible. So I made another level here. So under the bake folder, if I go to bake level, so this is what we are looking at, right? We have a bunch of wood options, like presets in here. Let's pick something, like let's pick pine. So let's apply this into this. So this is how it looks. You just adjust the wood size and then just capture. In the content drawer, under TrueWood, bake, textures, in the diffuse and roughness, it basically captured diffuse and roughness. Let's go to diffuse. So this is how it looks here. Just got the texture. So this is tested. So you see it gets blurry. Basically this is the actual texture, and you can simply select all and export. So same thing with roughness. In the roughness you get the roughness material. Okay, so that's the whole thing. Nothing more, nothing less. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments of this video, and you can find TrueWood in fab.com. If you have any question, again, please let me know in the comments. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.